What's up, everybody? It's Joe La Puma. You are listening. You are watching the Complex Sneakers Podcast. We are back. We're in studio. 2 weeks off, but we're back. And to my right, Mr. Matt Welty.
That sounded like a rap battle, but we're back.
Did it?
I didn't get
Energy is up, maybe. Okay. And to my left,
I'm so happy to be back.
Mr. Brendan Dunne. He is happy to be back.
I'm happy because people aren't going to be hounding me anymore. Okay. You know, like sometimes we gotta take a little time off, right?
Absolutely.
It wasn't that long, right?
Yeah, we had a 2-week break and we put up that.
Sorry we left you.
Yeah, sorry we left you. We put up that animated shouts to Reese, who was in studio the last time we recorded. We put that animated clip compilation up on the Soul Collector channel. Go check that out if you haven't.
Enjoyed that.
Someone's phone just went off. We're a little rusty.
Okay, so we're back, but we're
Matt
still...
Welty's
Wait,
phone,
hold on.
not on silent.
You didn't put it on silent.
Yeah,
when
not
you
on
just clicked
silent.
the thing to get rid of the text. Can you put it on silent?
Little rusty.
Dude,
it's okay.
That's my bad. You know what? Wasn't even a text message.
But can you put it on silent?
My phone is on silent. I don't know how it came up, to be honest with you. It's one of the dumb Apple News alerts that I don't even sign up for. I don't know.
Was anything breaking that we need to know?
Yeah, no, and I don't know why I got it.
A little rusty. How we doing? We do have to talk. I noticed on your right leg.
Yeah, I got a scrape on the
What happened? Were you rollerblading or something?
Fine.
What happened?
I'm working out just from a barbell.
What was the workout? Look, they're zooming in. I can see. Well, barbell. Okay.
Yeah, just doing like a barbell.
It wasn't
snatch.
that you ran to get a package like the Nick Diamond dunks and you dropped the barbells?
No. Just a little close on the. You're supposed to pull the barbell close.
You
to
use
chin.
50, right? So
no, I was using a barbell.
No. Oh, okay. Barbell shows how bad I am. I mean, like free weights.
You're more engaged in this than I am because I never lift weights, so I don't even.
This is what I will say, and I've never told him this. There will be times where sometimes you work out at night. Yes.
Sometimes right after work, but not.
Okay.
Late.
Sometimes I'm in the gym, and
at
like
night?
I go. I only work out at night.
Okay.
Not like a morning workout person, but sometimes I'm in the gym at night, and I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm doing like the free weights. Probably not doing them correctly, but then I use 30, and then he'll post, and he does 50, right?
Yeah.
50.
No,
50.
He's got the 50 on deck. Do you think he had the 50 already, or do you think he saw your IG post?
No, I don't
with
post
the 30?
on.
Oh, okay,
I don't do it. That's so.
I wasn't
he
sure
wasn't
if it was
trying
in
to one up me.
retaliation, like,
No,
30s,
there's
I
no
got 50s.
retaliation.
50. Do you?
That's all I own is 50.
Yeah. So I made it to. Someone took the 30s once, and I did make it to 40, struggling. But
And this
maybe
is what type of lifting?
I mean, I don't. It's just chest, right? On the
Overhead press, or
and
So
then
I'm
I
laying
do
on my
this.
back, and I'm.
Yep,
I'm doing
on
it?
your
Okay.
back, and I do this,
yeah.
and then I do that.
All right.
What? This is a judging smile.
No, I'm saying
Unimpressed.
okay. I'm
Totally unimpressed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see sometimes you do the 50, and then I'm like, damn.
No, not sometimes. He always
Oh,
does
always,
the 50. He
always.
said he only owns the 50.
You got the morning workout in,
Yeah.
getting your mind right. You guys are doing a double today.
Yeah.
This will be out, so you're shooting the season finale. Good guest in studio. Everyone's in studio today.
Love that.
Yep.
It's going to be a busy day. in the
Season
office.
finale.
Fabulous.
FABO. What's the pronunciation?
Fabulous.
Okay, there we go.
Disrespectful.
Two-time sneaker shopping guest, Fabulous, and also you were saying one of the early sneaker.
You need to go back. You guys need to go back
No,
and
don't
watch it.
Yeah,
Just to see. It's just crazy to see how much the show has evolved since. Because I think that episode was only like 4 minutes.
yeah.
The
Packer shoes.
progression, Yeah.
Packer shoes.
Mike Packer in the cut trying to get his cameo.
Mike Packer always gets a cameo
Mike
in
Packer
sneaker
needs his
shopping.
cameo.
Every single time he gets a cameo.
He used it to plug his. I think it was his New Balance Worthy collaboration.
yeah.
He's like, I got a little something special for you, and like pulls out the box.
You know what else people need to go back and check out? Joe's IG post in celebration of the Pharrell episode of
thank you.
Sneaker Shopping.
Thank you.
You did a 2-photo gallery slider. Photo of you from 2013, I think in the studio with Pharrell.
Yeah, that was an Usher session, and I was
Okay.
working on a cover story. It was crazy.
The cover story was with Pharrell or with Usher?
It was with Pharrell, and it was a studio session in Atlanta, and yeah, it was an Usher studio session. I wrote about it in the cover story, but yeah, the finale was yesterday. Of
Hold on.
You go.
The thing people need to look back at is the tongue fuck in that. Because somebody on IG did point this out to me that it needed to be discussed, but you had the black cement 3s on in that photo.
I always
And
did that though.
The angle of the tongue is like it's acute with the shoe, you know. It's not quite a right angle. It's like closing down on itself.
That's all I did was the tongue fuck always.
Yeah.
And still with the cement 3s.
It's a big tongue. It's a big tongue.
Cool part about that picture, Cynthia from Cactus took it.
I saw you tag her, so I wasn't totally sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a great night. And
what a long journey it's been.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. And the finale of Sneaker Shopping Season 13. Pharrell, go check that out. Definitely a hero moment for the show. And happy how it came out. And I think maybe next week we'll go... Let me just tell you something. I'm looking at you. I could see him smiling about something that he hasn't. I'm not even looking at him. I could just see it.
It feels good to be back, baby.
Well,
feels
yes.
so good
No,
to be back.
I want to hear it.
Talk about it.
How did you feel when in the intro where he's like, "Wow, you're really polished"?
I mean, it was great, man. It was great. Like
Did you blush a little bit, like on the inside?
So there's a comment that says at 54 seconds, Joe blushed. I don't know if I blushed. It was in Miami. I had the whole.
That's another thing to go back and look. If
I actually blushed,
go
but
back
yeah.
and look if Joe
the
blushed.
other comment was shot in Miami. Joe has a hoodie and jeans on, which fair. But yeah, there was a comment saying like, 54 seconds in, Joe blushed. But listen, getting a compliment like that from him was amazing, and happy how it turned out. And I wanted to say, next week maybe we'll do kind of like a look back at both our seasons. Maybe not the whole podcast, but we'll put.
Which episode felt more surreal to you? Because I know these were two big finales: the Pharrell one or the Lil Wayne finale. That was the finale, right?
Yes.
Okay. What season was that?
Season 10, I think.
Okay.
Those season numbers don't mean
Dave,
anything
was
to
it
me.
season 10?
Season 10. Yeah.
Season 10.
That was like right before the pandemic.
Yeah. Season 10, I think, was season 10 Will Smith, Fallon, and Wayne, Pop Smoke, R.I.P. all in one. So that was like...
Nice run.
Shouts to KP. KP, that was a great season.
Those runs feel good.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm happy how we ended this season. We have a few weeks off, and then we're back at it.
But not weeks off on the podcast.
No,
Don't
we're
worry.
back
we
with
just
this.
took 2 weeks off of the podcast. We're not going anywhere. We're pretty consistent with this.
Get locked in the stew.
Yeah. How was the weekend? How was your weekend? How was the past 2 weeks? Anything like...
I feel like there's a lot of sneaker stuff we should catch up on. We don't get too deep into the sneaker news on here, but there's a couple interesting things been happening. This Joefreshgoods New Balance thing,
so good.
Very the commercial is amazing.
So good.
The video
Mike
they shot
did
for it.
Yep.
I'm waiting for them to drop. And you know what's really cool is I feel like Joe is kind of the antithesis right now. Joefreshgoods, not Joe La Puma, of the whole corporate sneaker collab communication technique where if there's a big Nike collaboration, you're going to get some officially crafted tweets around it from a brand or a partner, and you're not going to be able to really ask questions of that person and figure out. Joe's like so out here on Twitter and like, talking to people and being like, this is what I wanted to do. And even the Chicago release where he did it in Chicago and 1 million people pulled up and there were some issues, but he was, again, transparent
that line
about
was
that.
Crazy. It was in the park.
Yeah,
he didn't announce it to like the morning of or whatever.
Yeah, he was like talking about, I'm sorry that this happened with security guards and things like that, but it just feels so much more human than we see from other brands, and I love that. And I think it's the best New Balance of the year, with the whole package and the clothing and the box and all the little details. I'm super hyped on that.
I love that shoe.
Yeah.
It looks, one of those shoes, every time I see it, looks better.
Yeah. Welty, you going to get a pair?
I did enter the raffle on it.
Okay. Fingers crossed. Wait, speaking of raffles, or this isn't really a raffle, but Off-White Nike Dunks exclusive access, are we...
I don't care about it.
I didn't get any.
Okay.
I
feel like you guys don't try on Sneakers app as much as I do.
No,
You're there
didn't
for
try.
everything.
I didn't try.
You're
I'm
tapped
trying.
in, literally. Do you actually want the shoes, though?
Yeah, I would like them. I don't know if I might end up reselling them if I did get them, but I hate the exclusive access program they're doing for it. Like this whole thing of not knowing whether or not you're being considered. Like, it's just so opaque. Like, I can't tell what's happening. Maybe this is why you guys don't try.
The black ones are the only ones that I would probably wear.
Yeah.
Although
you should open up the Sneakers app and tap her. You got to give them some engagement.
Although I did, little hint, I did wear white sneakers. We're not going to say where. I wore white sneakers coming up. You'll see. You'll see it soon.
Do
That's
I know?
All I could,
or is that a hint for the people who are listening and watching?
Yeah, not
or
you
a hint
guys.
for
You
us?
guys know. No, you guys know.
Where you wore white?
Oh, I know exactly
yes,
where
yes.
it.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Okay.
So,
yes.
that's coming.
We will say
Did you
nothing
wear the
else
Diddy's
about
all
that.
white party?
No, it wasn't Diddy's all
in the
white
Hamptons.
party. The Michael Rubin party in the Hamptons. No. I wanted to talk about this, and I want to get your guys' point on it. The Travis Jordans, the past, both of them dropped in the past 3 weeks or 2 weeks?
It's been 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, it almost feels like a month.
I know.
Is he getting into territory that they're as hyped as maybe the Off-White Chicago ones, or no?
I mean,
is it even close? I had that thought this weekend, and I don't really have the answer. I wanted to gauge your guys.
I mean, I think strictly on resale value, and resale value is, I think, not always the right way to indicate whether a shoe's good or not, but is a good way to evaluate whether or not it has hype or how much hype it has. And those Travis Scott Jordan 1 High Fragment is selling for right around $3,000. That's more than the Off-White Chicago Jordan 1 was selling for right when it came out. Now the Jordan 1 is in a different place now.
Time too,
but still, like that shoe is.
Yeah. Also feel like Travis is getting closer to Virgil territory in some way where I'm not going to like compare the two of them because they're such different people.
Yeah, I didn't mean to compare the two, just the shoes.
But also like, I'm not saying it's like hit or miss, but it's also becoming a little bit to the point where like there's certain Virgil shoes that go for a ton of money, and then there's also like Nike Off-White stuff that isn't as covetable, you know.
And is it as interesting?
Yeah, and I actually like. I'm not gonna say I like it, but when you see it coming up, where he has like all the Air Max 1s coming out, and then you see he also has the Air Trainer 1 coming out, where there's almost like different tiers of Travis product at this point, where there is the super hype stuff, but then there's also like the 270,
which I think is a natural progression. You can't. I don't think every single one could be,
especially with how many they're making.
Exactly.
Like Travis doesn't feel like. In my head, I'm like, oh, he's not at the Virgil level in terms of how prolific he is with Nike, and he's not. But still, you think about how many Nike shoes Travis Scott is going to release in a given year, and you're like, oh shit, that's a lot. And to me, it's too many. Like, I feel like we would benefit from having less of them, but Nike doesn't seem to agree.
Just printing money for them.
Those lows are really good, though.
Travis Scott Jordan.
The lows are really good. I like from the pictures. The like different shades of yellow.
Yeah.
Kind of, or like
the aged.
Yeah, look really, really good. And the lows remind me of my unofficial signature intramural soccer shoe at UConn, the Jordan 1 New Retro Low, which I'm sure you do not like. You do not like that shoe. Also, the New Retro Low.
How did this come into your life?
I was just wearing the
super Finish Line shoe.
I just was definitely Finish Line, one of those shoes that like ended up in the college packing bag, and I wore it on turf, which really could have went bad. To play soccer in those, the only crazy thing is on GOAT and Flight Club right now, they're $2,000. How did?
That's not a real price.
Yeah, that's like
someone must know
trying to head crack.
Someone
knows
I knew your 808.
Okay, 808. But yeah,
Welty probably listed them this morning.
Yeah,
this shoe, with the Wings logo, I wore it all the time at college. Those Travis 1 lows, really, really good. I really like those.
Are you in pursuit of them at all? Again, I would ask if you tried on the sneakers app, but it sounds like neither of you guys tried on the sneakers app. Nobody tried on the raffle, I presume.
It just and it just feels so ridiculous that, I mean, if people want, I don't want to tell anyone how to spend their money, but the idea of spending $2,000 to buy a shoe that you actually intend on wearing, it's just, I don't know, I can't really like rationalize that in my head.
I feel like Joe's looking up resale prices right now. Joe, are you like, you want the shoe, or what's the plan?
I would. I mean, if I could get the shoe, I would like the lows. I think more.
What's
than
the most you would pay for it?
I don't know yet. I don't know.
Put the price out there, because the people will respond, and they'll come in your DMs immediately.
I haven't thought about it. I did get the Awake A6.
Yeah.
And
those are growing on me. The more I see them,
they remind me.
Hey, can I get some credit?
Yeah.
He wore them, and they look great. They looked great. I got them. I bought them. I got them from, I think, Sneaker Politics.
Okay.
And
ASIC Joe Keanu.
And I want to try to get the Joefreshgoods for sure.
Yeah, Joefreshgoods New Balance is high on the list for me. You know what? I actually, it's funny. We were talking about just now me wearing those Keanos on the show, and we've talked on this show before about how much we have to keep our sneakers versatile or not wear the same things again and again. And I think Welty and Joe, I think you were in on this. We kind of agreed that, you know what, we don't need to be wearing, for this show, a different shoe every single time.
It just gets stressful.
Shooting 2 shows.
Well, you guys had to bring 2 changes of clothes today, right?
You might see me in the same outfit.
Really?
Actually, no. I have a couple. We'll see.
Okay. Well, it used to be always like the concept of like you needed like new sneakers, new T-shirt, like new hat or whatever for like
and
every
no wardrobe budget. Just so
for
people
every
know.
single shoot, and then like you realize like how much you accumulate, and you're just like,
I saw. It's funny though. I wanted to bring it up because there was this IG post somebody tagged me in, and this cartoonist guy drew.
Oh, this was funny.
An illustration of me, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
That was your whole Russia joke.
Yeah, and this guy in the comments, what did he say? He said, He said, "Too bad you." So the guy drew the illustration of me, and I'm wearing the blue and white Nike Dunk Low with a little bit of like gold or yellow on it. A shoe that I've worn.
Almost like the Carolina blue one?
Yeah.
Yep.
A shoe that I've worn on Full Size Run, and maybe I wore them for the podcast one time.
Yeah,
And there's like a photo of me on IG, and I'm sorry to give all this detail, but this guy goes, "Too bad you keep wearing those lame ass dunks." I'm like, are you really? First of all, you have no idea how many times I've worn the shoe. Second of all, is me wearing a shoe publicly 3 times too many times for me to wear a shoe?
If that's the case, I wear the same shoes over and over.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Wear what you like, you know? Wear what you like.
What? I was like, are you really keeping track? You have no idea how much I wear this shoe. And who cares?
I feel like getting to the point where it's like, I don't want to say it's the only rule, but it's like, just don't wear the same shoe twice in the same season.
Yeah, I wouldn't wear I feel stupid even talking about it. Because again, it's like, who cares?
I've also like thought about, because during like the whole pandemic with all the remote shoots, I'm not saying those episodes don't matter. Go and watch them. Please get our views up. But like there were so many shoes that like during the whole pandemic, when you're shooting in the house and then like you're putting the shoe on, like you're obviously recording it like in socks, and then you put the shoe on for like 2 seconds and like take the sneaker cam photo.
Magic.
Sorry for the behind the scenes magic, but you're like, you feel like you didn't really even wear the shoe. And now that like you're back in studio, I'm like, I actually want to wear half of these shoes that I only wore for 30 seconds on.
One question to that point. Is there a sneaker that you absolutely have to wear at least one episode each season?
You mean like a shoe that I'll bring back? No, on Full Size Run, I won't repeat. Just so the guy on IG knows.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
And, you know,
impressive.
You kind of like a running tally in your head, because, you know, certain people give you certain shoes and you're like, oh, if someone sent me this, I really want to wear it for this episode, or I want to wear it this season. But then it's like you have a running tally of like the next 3 episodes of the shoes you kind of want to break out. But then you get like sent something else, or you get another shoe, and then like it kind of like pushes the other one back, and then sometimes it keeps getting pushed further and further back. And
a perfect segue, because our eBay sneaker giveaway of the week, our question actually pertains to being gifted sneakers. Should we get to the question first, or do we want to get to the sneakers first?
Let's get to the question, because it's...
Shouldn't we crack it open for the anticipation? It's all they've been waiting for.
Okay,
crack it open.
Uh-oh.
Adding some drama to it.
Yes.
eBay sneaker giveaway of the week. Each week we're giving away a free pair of shoes here on the Complex Sneakers Podcast. Welty, what is it this week?
This is a shoe I've been waiting for to see and hold in my hand for a long time. This is the Concepts New Balance 998 C-Note 2013. I believe this was like a top 3 shoe or top 5 shoe of the year back when you guys used to do the panels, Clark. And
I'm surprised you haven't owned this shoe already.
This looks like this. I know that like you have a lot of shoes that
looks like a
fit your Matt Welty sneaker DNA. This
Mm-hmm.
looks exactly like something that you would cherish.
Yes.
Exactly.
This shoe was inspired by the new $100 bills at the time, with all the coloring on it. Just a really nice quality shoe.
If I didn't know you didn't own that, I could imagine a picture of you
The fit.
like this, smiling after a workout. You know, you always fold your hands across your chest.
Got long arms.
Yeah,
yep.
that's
accentuate the muscles a
exactly.
little bit. Yeah. So these are made in USA. Nice suede. And Brendan, a viewer of ours, will be getting the sneakers.
Yeah, that's right. We are giving away a free pair of these. So every week we are looking through the user-submitted questions and picking out one, and the person who we pick out is going to get a free pair of sneakers courtesy of eBay and their authenticity guarantee program. And if they're not your size, don't worry. You can sell them on eBay. No seller fees. People always asking us how to do this. Where do we submit these questions? This is how you submit the question. Go to ebay.complex.com. You can submit your question, your information. We will look through. We will handpick a question. This week we have picked a question from Adele in the Bronx asking, what was the first sneaker you were gifted? In the sneaker media game, we do get some free sneakers. We try not to gloat about it. We try to give a lot away and help people out. No, I'm not going to give you any sneakers. But what was this first sneaker you remember getting for free, courtesy of the company?
I feel like I have not as good as this guy to my right, but I have a semi-good memory. There is no way I could know what my first gifted sneaker is. I will say one gifted group of sneakers that stands out that I've never really talked about. 2008, Gilbert Arenas had a set of Adidas. I think it was like 20 Adidas, different colorways, all different themes of stuff that he was into. And I think Russ Bankston will remember this. When I tell you that we would just walk in to Complex and it would just be boxes and boxes. Adidas, I think, gifted all 20 of them. And I just remember it was like a never ending, and it was fairly early in my career, 2008, so 2 years full time at Complex. The boxes of the Adidas Gilbert Arenas, the Gil 2.0, 20 different colorways, and I think they gifted me and Russ all 20 each.
Did you wear them? Because there's a lot of shoes to ever
I didn't wear them. I didn't play. They were like an on-court, more so on-court.
You were playing basketball with them.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever wore them, but it was kind of cool.
I want some game footage.
Obviously appreciate them gifting, but it was like to see all the different themes.
I mean,
and Gilbert's sneaker history is pretty awesome. He wore the Dolce Gabbanas.
Is that pretty fitting, Joe, with your on-court play to wear the Gilbert Arenas shoe? So a lot of those attributes kind of align.
Are you saying he's a Gilbert Arenas type player?
I don't know. What are you getting at?
No, I mean, you said you're, a couple fouls, couple rebounds.
I don't show up in the box score, but I do the intangibles very okay? The box score looks a little light, but the intangibles, you can't.
Some wild things might happen in the locker room afterwards.
No.
Not with Joe La Puma.
No.
Not with Joe La Puma.
No.
Okay, Welty, do you remember, this is our question from our viewer down in the Bronx.
Yes.
First sneaker you were gifted?
So this is one I'd actually talked to someone about the other day because it set off a pretty nice run for myself. I think it was someone at Reebok had hit me up, and N Clothing was doing an Instapump collaboration back when they did all the Instapump collaborations. And they wanted me to, I think it was N's first sneaker collaboration, and then they've done a million of them since.
It was the beginning of the end.
Yes, the beginning of the end, yeah. And they had done a pair of like red wine-inspired Instapumps, and they just wanted to build a relationship with me, so they wanted to do a quick interview on it. So they sent me, those sneakers as one of the first shoes I got gifted, which was nice because it wasn't just through Reebok. I ended up having a nice connection with End and ended up doing something with them around the Saucony Burger shoes, which came out after, which ended up becoming a grail for some people.
Yeah, that was a big Saucony moment.
Yeah, but have had a good relationship with them since, which has been quite fruitful on the free sneakers situation. So it one of those early on things that played out pretty well.
At the end of the day, it all worked out.
At the end of the day.
I'm glad you had a steady stream of free sneakers. The viewers at home are feeling so comforted by this idea of Matt Welty getting every End shoe that ever happened. I think the first shoe I ever got gifted actually was not from a brand. So my friend, and I think he was my manager at the time, John Kim, when I was working at Sneaker News, he had sent me a pair of LeBron 9 Dunkman, the Dunkman colorway, because he had gotten them for free, and it was just a sign of goodwill of him being like, look, you're writing for the site, nobody knows who you are, but you deserve to enjoy some of these things as well. But then I think a couple years later, I think maybe it was a Fila cage, the shredder version of the Fila cage, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collaboration, which if you know me, and we don't have to get into it here because we have limited time, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is very close to my heart, but that Fila cage shredder was definitely one. So that was some of the early free sneakers for me, and the most important thing is not us, it's the free pair of sneakers that's going to Idel in the Bronx, courtesy of eBay. This is the Concepts New Balance C-Note pair. We hope you enjoy. Okay. Let's get to our guest.
Yes. Well, we've been off for 2 weeks. Happy to be back, and we are really extremely happy to have this returning guest. He is the co-founder of The Hundreds. He is a best-selling author and one of the most important voices in streetwear. Welcome back, Mr. Bobby Hundreds.
That's quite an intro. Thank you, everyone, for having me back. I was so excited driving to work this morning to be able to hang out with the boys again.
Yes.
I wish I was there.
Us too. We wish you were in studio. We got this fairly new studio. Next time you're in New York, maybe not the next time, but we gotta.
We'll get to it. But I feel like it's fitting that Bobby isn't here with us physically because this man is so big on the metaverse and the virtual world. Like he's ready to jack into the Matrix with the thing in the back of his head. There's no more fitting way, I feel like, than having Bobby beaming to us.
Absolutely,
via
definitely.
The internet.
Sometimes, Bobby, I read the Instagram captions or the tweets, and I get some of it. Some of it I don't, though. So that's why I'm happy he's here to break down everything. And you know, one thing that we were just talking about was the Travis Scott Jordan releases of recent weeks. And you wrote an essay basically talking about NFTs and how it relates to not physically having product. And it went viral. It's fair to say it went viral.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
And we wanted to dig a little deeper for people who may not understand fully the NFT. Is that fair to say? Yeah. Like, I know we don't really understand it. Dunne, who I feel like understands a lot of things, even admittedly said.
Oh, thank you.
Even admittedly said that you can't fully understand.
We're getting all the good intros. Bobby Hundreds, you know, a historic figure, and me understands a lot. Would you say understands a lot of things?
Yeah,
I love that.
Bobby, how many Ethereum coins do we need to put a NFT of you on set in post that can sit right next to us?
I don't know, but I'm more than happy to try to figure that out if we can raise.
Know your worth and add tax, right?
Yes. The reality is, guys, is that nobody understands the totality of NFTs or the metaverse, and including me. I think that's why I'm so intrigued by the subject. We're all just piecing together a definition in real time.
There's so many thoughts I've had about NFTs, Bobby, over the past year, and I haven't put them out on Twitter because I see you tweeting about it all the time, and I value our friendship. And
he could only handle one Twitter beef. Chris Vidal at 3 a.m. is the only one that he could handle, so that's why he hasn't got into 2 Twitter beefs with some industry stars.
Look, Welty, I'm friends with Russ still somehow, right? Russ Bankston, and we are. I don't know if anyone is more critical about NFTs than he's been in the last year. So we have good dialogue about it. Yeah, some very strong opinions.
Bobby, so how it relates though to the Travis Scott, you blurred out the image. Go check it on his Instagram if you haven't seen, and go check it on the Hundreds website. And breaking it down, I know that there's a lot of nuance in it and a lot of layers, but is it essentially like you're saying the Gotta screen could actually take over seeing shoes on people's feet in real life because they're so hard to get?
Yes. Okay. In a way, yes. I think this theory, I guess, or this discussion in my brain started many years ago, right? Like with all of you on the stage now, was what is this sneaker culture really about? It's fair to say that some of the collectors from our generation, if not most, were more into it because of the community aspects or because of the design aspects. And then over the last 10 years, we've all become somewhat critical of how this marketplace works and how so much of this is hype fueled, and it's really just about making a profit for certain sneaker collectors. And that is an aspect of the game that is not very appealing to me. And so I think the conversation or the thought process started there. And then in the wake of what's been going on with NFTs and the metaverse and all this crazy discussion about what is real and what's not real, I've come to this conclusion that a JPEG, like a Beeple piece of art or a CryptoPunk or a Bored Ape, these JPEGs also accomplish many of the things that we are trying to do with sneakers. And these limited edition, like all these different attributes that come with NFTs are very parallel, if not similar, or exactly the same as what we see in sneaker culture, except you don't actually own anything physically tangible in the real world with an NFT. With sneakers, it's not the same because there are physical sneakers involved. But when you consider the fact that there's only so many sneakers being produced, number two, why do we even need or why should we produce them in a time of severe climate crisis, right? There's a lot of issues and discussion, debate being had around manufacturing and sustainability. Greta Thunberg, who I quoted in an article, who is a big face for this type of discussion, she hit it on the head in that fashion, no matter what it tries to do, cannot surmount the discussion or the argument around sustainability. It is impossible. The very fact that fashion exists is wasteful, right? And so should we even be making the shoes? do we even need to make the shoes if the people that are trading them never even put them on their feet? And then I start taking it even further in the sense of, you probably won't get the shoes just because there's so much demand. There's only so much that Nike can do. In some ways, I'm on Nike's side with a lot of this. It's not like they can make 8 billion pairs of shoes for everybody on the planet.
Well, why not? Because that's
Well,
what people always are like. Why
where
Nike,
they stand
Nike
on
just make a bunch more shoes. I see a lot of young resellers saying this on social media all the time. Why doesn't Nike just make more shoes and then people won't get hurt or have to worry about paying a bunch of money for them?
Perhaps they can. I don't know the mechanical logistics of what's going on within their facilities, but I know for a fact, as a brand owner myself, the demand far out exceeds the infrastructure and the production like how much I can actually produce.
Even if you wanted to.
Even if I wanted to, we're buckling under that. And in fact, many brands, companies are having to deal with that. If you go out to your local restaurant these days, they're understaffed. It's not that they don't want to make more food, it's that they can't handle it. And you're seeing it with all companies.
My biggest thing with this that's like I feel like I've been struggling with, like with the whole NFT like crypto world, is that like unlike Jadakiss, and I don't mean this as a joke really, but like we haven't really been outside. People haven't
You
been.
don't mean this as a joke?
That is the definition of a joke. Yes,
No, but I want to get to the serious point. But we haven't been outside. We haven't been outside in the past, whatever, like, you know, year or two, and it's almost like we've created this like imaginary world that everyone's living in, where it's almost like we're so far detached. Some people are so far detached from actual reality because they've been sitting in their house for the past year, and it's also like kind of correlated with this whole rise of like make-believe sneakers on the internet, you know, and imaginary money. So it's like, I just wonder how much like that's facilitated some people having the idea that like some of these things are super valuable, when in reality it's like, you know, a couple months ago, Jeff Staples' like Air Force One knockoff looking shoe NFT sold for more than his Pigeon Dunk, and we all have to be, you know, honest with ourselves. That's not worth more than the Pigeon Dunk. You know what I mean? Like people like threw some crypto coins at it and it went for like $50,000, and all of a sudden people are saying, oh, this thing's worth so much money, and it's like, it's not.
Right now, I would agree with you, Welty. Right now, it's not. And I think, but you do have to factor in with crypto and NFTs and all this metaverse talk, is that so much of this is about speculation, right? It's not saying that right now that the Pigeon Dunk is worth more or less than this. It's the prediction, or we are hedging on the fact that perhaps in the next 10 years or 100 years, this will be the most valuable thing. So the reason why I even got into it back in December last year, December last year, was, you know, I'd heard the pitch and I understood, I got it. But when people started explaining it in a way of, hey, there are content creators out there that are doing all the work, we're writing the captions, we're posting the Instagrams, we're posting our TikToks. Meanwhile, the tech companies, these startups and these apps are making all the money off of our backs, off of advertising revenue.
Like user-generated content, and then they're selling ads against it.
Right. And so Zuckerberg and all these guys are getting richer, while artists continue to stay the same, if not get poorer. And over the last 8 months or so, I've seen so many friends of mine, new friends, young artists, young brands, making money for the first time in a way that they've never seen, because they can actually speak directly to their audience, right? And so that's what NFTs allow. And whether it's a scam or not, I mean, I agree. There's parts of this that are very scammy. There's a lot of people that can get hurt, get manipulated. A lot of people whose MetaMask or crypto wallets are getting drained because this stuff is hackable. And so that's out there, but that's going to happen. I think the overall idea, though, and the philosophy around it, I think, is moving in a direction to where we can possibly help clean up the environment, for one, and then number two, get smaller people paid instead of just Nike making all the money, or just Facebook or Google. Last point about that is, in the essay, the meat of the article is me talking about how NFTs and the metaverse can change the future of fashion design and also the future of fashion business. And one example I give on the business side is that you know, we're working on a technology right now with our NFTs to where if you own one, you can print we'll make it so that you can buy the clothes featuring your NFT. Other people will be able to buy it, and then you will get paid off of the royalties off of that. And so I bring that back to Nike and this discussion of whether or not it's a scam or whether any of this is ethical. I was writing that essay while I was looking down at my feet, and I was wearing Nike, and I wear Nike almost every single day, as I've always have. And I realized, hey, I'm an influencer. I should get paid for advertising Nike every day. I'm not just an influencer. Anyone who has a social media account, a TikTok, Instagram, if you have 6 followers, even if you're not on social media and you're just an influential person in your community where you walk around town, you go to the barbershop and people ask you about what you're wearing, you're an influencer. You should get paid by Nike for shilling for their brand, right? I think that's something that no one has quite thought of before in the brand space. It's just always been like, oh, I wear it because I feel like I'm a part of this community.
I like it.
Yeah.
But you don't actually have any real ownership, or you don't share in the upside. And perhaps we can resituate ourselves with our brands in a way where if you're wearing a brand, you should be somehow paid for it in a proportionate way for how much you've been promoting the brand.
Instead of giving them all your money, all your time, all your like mental, talking about sneakers app being a scam, that was partially a joke, but also it's a psyop where we're giving them all the attention that we have and all the energy that we have, and very often getting nothing in return.
Bobby, this might be I guess, I don't know if this is a complicated question. So I know when you're on Full Size Run, we're talking about, you kind of wanting to do a Nike collab is maybe kind of like a lifelong kind of fulfillment. Like if you actually got the opportunity to make the shoe. But we're talking about, your thoughts about, do we need these shoes? Do we not need them? Are they bad for the environment? So if you finally got a Nike collaboration and they told you they were going to make 100,000 units of it, given your thoughts with the environment and everything, would you turn it down on moral principles at this point?
No, I don't think so. Look, let's be honest. Number one, I own a brand. I'm not slowing down on making clothes anytime soon. The overarching goal, right, and I don't know how long this is going to take, is that I can move enough people into the metaverse side of ownership of our brand. Instead of buying a t-shirt featuring the design, maybe the NFT might be enough for you because you can show that you own it on your Instagram. You can put it in your avatar as your profile picture, and you're still associated with, wow, you're one of the few hundred people who got that. That's pretty cool. Like I try to, one of the hundreds who got that. Like that's pretty cool. But it's not going to happen overnight, right? And I think that there's still something to be said for physical product and physical ownership. I think both can exist. But I want to just see a general movement in a direction where we can reduce the amount of pressure we're putting on the environment, to reduce the amount of consumption we're doing physical sneakers. I was reading these essays from 20 years ago in this bread and butter book. Anyways, a bunch of brands and designers were complaining about streetwear and blogs at the time that the internet was kind of opening up the game for too many people to get involved. And everyone was complaining about two things. They were saying the internet is ruining streetwear. And then number two, that reselling was ruining streetwear because of this new move towards eBay.com. Right. And that was 20 years ago. And it's not like streetwear died at the time. That iteration of streetwear
Bobby,
and sneaker collecting died.
eBay sponsors this podcast. So be very, very careful. Be very, very careful how you speak right now.
Well, I'm just saying that eBay was a pioneer in the reselling
That's
space.
That's the full quote.
Yep.
eBay was a pioneer in the reselling space.
Bobby hundreds. eBay was a pioneer.
The one thing I would ask, though, hypothetical, right? Do you think there will be a time you go to meet Seth Rogen, or you see Seth Rogen and he has the pottery, right? And you have your Brazil dunks on and you start a conversation about the Brazil dunks. And
where are you going?
Listen, they're basically chopping it up about what shoes you're wearing in the physical versus kind of just posting it on Instagram and an NFT. Will that ever be replaceable? A real story of the shoes that you're wearing in the physical, and can the two kind of coexist or no?
I think they could totally coexist.
But what I'm saying is like, let me try to say this better. It's kind of like the old, well, I used to be able to go into a sneaker store and see a shoe on the shelf without not seeing it at all.
Yeah.
Is there any correlation between, well, if you have it, an image of it or an NFT of it, it's as good, where I would say even the Brazil dunks you wore during the pandemic when you may have went outside, not a lot, but like you wrote about it in the essay, and we always joke like Bobby Hundreds sold me on the Brazil dunks.
Influencer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like even those stories throughout this time, to me, that can never equate to an NFT.
Like nobody's selling you on an NFT because you saw it on their Instagram.
That's what
account.
I would say. Do you guys see what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I think that it's probably, if I can, like, partly because we're old and we don't interact in these spaces in a virtual way. I mean, I think
But he
Bobby's,
is.
and Bobby's imagining a near future where we are having the same memorable experiences or creating memories in a virtual space the same way we might in a physical space.
I guess the connection I see between that, where I guess it makes sense to me, is that you have memories of like seeing a sneaker on Nike Talk that like you've never seen in
or
real
a magazine
life, in real life, but you saw, you know, Henzo or like some Nike Talk OG post it, and you're like, oh, I remember this Bape that I saw someone wearing on a message board, but you never interacted with it.
Right, and that's when he was talking, I thought about, what about all the old like Complex magazine issues with these sneakers that I still have never seen in the physical.
Yeah, Bobby says this in the essay. He says, and I'm quoting you, Bobby, we've shared deep conversations in forums, worked together over DMs, built memories in group chats like any other IRL relationship. It wasn't long ago that we defined friends as online or in real life. Today, that distinction is evaporating. So you've already set up this idea.
Yeah, and to your point, this is probably pretty embarrassing, but because I'm the Complex Sneakers podcast with sneakerheads, I can share this information. But I have folders on my desktop of pictures of shoes that I never had, have not really ever seen out in the wild, but I have strong associations and emotions about them.
Give us some.
What's in there?
Give us some.
What's in there, Bobby?
Rainbow HTM wovens that Bill Murray wears in Lost in Translation.
Oh, this is great. Okay, now we're getting it. Now we're getting it. Keep going.
A Reebok, this Reebok cross trainer, this Reebok pump. It's a cross training pump. It was a mid that it was called I think it was called the CXC. And actually, there was a bunch of these Reeboks at that time that use Hexalite. That were all cross-training, kind of like for weight training even.
Was that the one you did the collaboration on?
Yeah, so we ended up bringing it back, but we flipped the colors around. But I've never actually seen the one that this kid wore in 5th grade. This kid, Peter Lee. He was the coolest kid because he had
reach out to us.
Peter.
Open up the vault, Peter.
Shoes, I try to, and I do the same with streetwear T-shirts that I've never seen since. I was a child. Yeah, I've searched Marketplace and maybe there's one photo of like a Drawls or like a Fresh Tribe tee or something like that. But I have these sneakers and I do the same thing where it's almost the same as if I had them in my collection on the floor over here, if not better because they're more accessible because I'm constantly online, right? And I share this anecdote a lot. When I look at my own children and, over Christmas morning is the best example of this. They're opening their presents. I got them some new AM90s. They're like, this is great, Dad. Thanks so much. They look at them for like 5 minutes. They put them down. Then they jump back into their Fortnite games, their Valorant games, their skins, and their back bling or whatever they're buying online to dress them for the metaverse is more important to them, especially in a pandemic year when they don't go to school. Right, and their friends are online.
Wild.
I just think this is like a reality.
Bobby, that's
a reality I don't want to live in.
To be fair, I've been trying to follow. I've been trying to follow like as much as possible, and not really understanding that much. Contextualizing like that is very easy to digest. And wow,
Welty's upset.
Imagine if you gave them the Christmas present and they opened it up and there was a Nike box and they pull it out and there was a printout picture of the shoe. Instead of the sneakers. What would the reaction be?
That's still a physical piece because it's a physical piece of paper. But if there's an online digital component of that with some type of utility in their video game, they would love it. And I don't get that. I'll be straight up. I'm not much of a gamer. I play games with, I'll play certain games with them. And I don't understand why it's so meaningful for them to have that particular back bling or that spray on Fortnite. But their friends love it. They're like, yo, you have that? That's so cool. Dad, can I get more V-Bucks to buy more shit in the game? Which is cryptocurrency for their generation. So when I tell my kids about NFTs and crypto and the metaverse, it's seamless for them. They're like, yeah, I get it.
Makes total sense.
Well, Bobby, sometimes when I have young artists on sneaker shopping, they know the sneakers because they like bought them in NBA 2K or something. Or
Really?
yeah, like that's happened a bunch of times. Like where they're like, "Oh yeah, that's my favorite signature shoe because I wear them in this video game."
We're in such danger. This episode is just exposing how old and out of touch we are.
Ask any young person in their 20s or even early 30s about Kareem Campbell, Chad Muska, Jamie Thomas, and if they're going to talk about Leap of Faith or they're going to talk about Thrill of It All videos, no, their point of reference is Tony Hawk. And you talk about the music from that game, I'm like, did you see them in concert? Did you get the CD? They're like, no, I found it on Tony Hawk, right? Wow. And so that was their first introduction to the metaverse also.
Tony Hawk soundtracks. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hit different?
Oh, yeah. Extremely.
I'm not sure. Look, this conversation, most people are just completely uninterested. There's a certain contingent of people who are galvanized and find it intriguing like I do. I'm not fully sold on all of it. I just think the conversation is really, really scintillating. I think there is something happening in the culture and momentum. My reasoning is I think that culture has actually been relatively stagnant for the last 20 years, right? And especially industries have been stagnant for the last 50 years. Mm-hmm. If you think about just like America, right? If you're born in 1900, you were probably living on a farm, churning butter. Mm-hmm. You worked tilling the land. By the time that you were
that's your speed,
right?
That's your speed.
You said that's my speed?
Yeah, I can see that.
But by the time you're in the 1950s and you're an older person, let's say even in the 60s and 70s, you had radios in the house. You probably had one or two television sets. You probably had one or two vehicles. Now you live in the city. You work for some type of machine automate, right? So all of think of the transformation in your life. Since the 50s and 60s, life has relatively not changed. We've been living in a pretty stagnant culture and reality. There's been the internet, but what the internet has been up till now has really just been setting it up for, in my opinion, what's coming next, which is the metaverse for the next 50 years.
I think some of these brands agree with you too. Like Nike has filed a patent for this thing called Crypto Kicks, where you buy a physical shoe and you have a digital representation of it. One of the things that I worry about, though, I feel like sneaker brands still don't even understand properly how to release shoes online and we talk about it on most of our shows and our website so frequently, is bots. Like, if you push all these shoes and all these products to a digital-only thing, doesn't that open an even bigger door for people to just exploit them? Like, imagine how rarely you're ever going to get a shoe if every shoe is a digital-only release that only exists online. Then, like, I feel like my odds just went even further down.
Really? I feel like it perhaps opens up the capabilities or the opportunities. There's a part of my essay where I'm talking about just how this might affect the future of design. And I think a lot about that with sneakers themselves. I think about it with almost every type of product design, automotive, industrial design, right? Like when we're on an airplane, I'm like, how have they not innovated on airplanes since they started? I'm still sitting in the same type of chairs. We're still facing the same way. We're still using the same type of toilets since I was a kid. There's been so much innovation otherwise in other spaces, but airlines were the same. Same with automobiles. The cars, okay, my seat now has a seat warmer. I don't know, like there's a blinker now that flashes on my rear view mirror to let me know something's behind. But other than that,
I love that one when you get the rental car and they have that radar in it.
It just reminds me of, like, you seen Ready Player One?
No, I haven't. No. We talked about this recently. I haven't seen it.
Of course, that's a big metaverse movie.
Yes, it's the same thing where it's like, that's what just reminded me of, where they live in like this like really bad dystopian future that's like completely rundown version of Ohio, but everyone lives the best life because they dive into this 3D world where they are like a totally different character in what is IRL or whatever. And I'm just like, are we like getting to a point where people don't even wear shoes anymore, but you have shoes?
But Bobby's, we kind of do. All of us have a lot of shoes that we don't wear.
Yeah.
There's a pile of shoes in the corner over here that I don't wear, and they're gross. And I wish I just had. I know this sounds crazy.
Why aren't you wearing them?
I just have too many shoes. Like,
people are going to hit you up now. If you ever say you have something that you don't wear or use on this show or any sort of platform, you are going to get people in your DMs. I'll take them off your hands.
10.5.
I just have too many. But anyway, to the point about innovation, I was when I think about airlines, I think about cars, and then I think about shoes. And although there's innovation within the design, of course, right? And in terms of the art and aesthetic of it, but if people are not actually wearing the shoes, right? There are a contingent of collectors who never wear the shoes. They buy them, they trade them. Some of them never physically hold them. They never even see them. They come in, they ship out right away. If you're not wearing the shoes, then why do they need to be designed to be worn? Why do they need to be designed in a way where they fit a human's foot? Right? Like we can think outside the bounds of physics and we can start making shoes looking pretty crazy. If you look at certain Instagrams like, Oven Space or whatever, some of these brands that are coming up with ideas for streetwear and sneakers, they're super wacky. And it's not my cup of tea where I'm looking at them like, that's just bad design or that's silly. But I do appreciate that these young designers are like, why are we staying within the confines of what history and tradition have told us about what looks good on a shoe? What if we made this part look like that? When we throw a hamburger on the side of it and have like a metal prong sticking out the other side. I don't know, but that to me is interesting design, at least. I feel like there's something innovative there that we might get to a place where there might be something completely new in the next 10 years, 5 years, even next 1 year.
The place we're in now, sometimes it can feel inhospitable in terms of the scene around sneakers or how hard it is to get them. Bobby, I want to talk with you while we have you here about what happened in LA recently, what happened on Melrose with the shooting at Shoe Palace. Rest in peace. I think his name's Jayren Bradford. This type of crime around sneakers. So for people who didn't see the story, a young man in his 20s was shot dead over a raffle for the shoes.
By a 16-year-old.
Yes, somebody's been arrested and it's 16 years old. These things are always really hard to process and figure out who needs to be held accountable or who's to blame. Bobby, we don't need answers from you, but just like, what was your reaction when you first saw this, and where do we go from here? And is Melrose really like this? Because I've not spent a lot of time in LA, but I've heard people talking about how sketchy it can get on Melrose, and I've heard stories about sneaker stores being robbed. And I was out there briefly a couple months ago, and there's people doing like the 3-card money or like the ball and cup game scamming it. I'm just like, what is going on out there?
Yeah, it was, to be frank, it's still really disturbing when I think about it, and especially when I was watching some of those videos. It was hard that week not to just convert to being an entire nihilist about everything.
Yeah.
I was like, what is the meaning of anything if your life can be stolen that immediately on both sides? And even the shooter, the 16-year-old kid,
his life's over,
who committed an atrocious act. But I also do feel for a 16-year-old kid who felt the need to have to do that and didn't see beyond the repercussions of how that affects so many lives, including his own, for the rest of his life and rest of his time here on this planet. So it was really hopeless for me, and it still really is. I cannot process it. I think that's maybe the point, is that this doesn't make sense. It's hard for me to point the finger at any one thing or say it's because of Nike or it's because of shoe or it's because of sneakers. I'm looking more deeper into the mind of that young person with the gun, why he felt the need to carry it, what that said about him and his mind state. Was he walking around paranoid all the time? Was he doing it as an act of aggression? Was he doing it just because of his peers? And that's the social climate right now, because so many people have readily accessible guns right now, especially in California. Gun ownership just skyrocketed over the pandemic for a multitude of reasons.
Has this been a thing at all? You've been on Fairfax, which intersects with Melrose, and it's all kind of the same little district. Has this been a thing, violence over streetwear, violence over sneakers in that area in the long time that you've been there?
Yeah, of course. Especially, when the physical lineups at Supreme were a thing, a lot of those kids were getting robbed, right? That that happens. That's always been essentially a part of the game, right? I think it's happening more now. I don't have the data to back that up.
Sure.
Seems like it's happening more over the last year. I think that, there's more media attention being given to it because it's really sensational. We also all remember the cover Sports Illustrated when kids were getting murdered for shoes when we were growing up. And that was bizarre to even comprehend then. But is it about shoes or is it about just, teenage dynamics? I had a kid that I was growing up with. We were at a party He was 14-year-old. No, we were younger, 13 or 14-year-old Korean American kid like me. Some essays rolled up on him and was just asking him for a cigarette or like to get a lighter. And he pulled out his gun and he just blasted one of those fools. And like that friend of mine is still in jail. It didn't make any sense to me at the time. Makes even less sense to me now how that happens.
Yeah.
But young teenagers, they're in this really vulnerable, precarious state, right? Growing up in the 90s, I vividly remember kids walking up to the teacher with a gun, pointing it at the temple, like doing that constantly in class. And that is insane to think about, but it's also a really strange time in a young person's life, also compounded with everything else that's going on. Look, if the general state of the world is set up in such a way, like how Welty feels, where you're like, dude, what is the point of any of this? Like, this is all really crazy. If you're looking at the climate, if you're looking at our politics and just how polarized people are, I don't know. I mean, how does that trickle down to young people and how they view everything, where they're like, I might not even be here in 50 years. What does it matter? What does it matter if I'm not here in 5 years, 10 years? And you know, the generation above us just ruined it for everybody. Like those kinds of, I think it's deeper than just, oh, it's over a pair of sneakers. That's like the easiest way to write it off.
Even a sneaker raffle, like it wasn't even the physical sneaker. There was a raffle ahead of the release for the shoes.
But there's violence going on everywhere in this country, a lot more of it these days, whether it's tied to sneakers or not. This one was tied to sneakers. And sure, I think it accentuates and highlights a part of this industry and culture that I have a lot of guilt carrying as well, because I live in streetwear. I exist and I make my money off of telling young people that they need to own this brand or have this product or they're not enough, right? That's what we do as profiteers off of streetwear. Like if you're a capitalist in this world, what you're doing is you're constantly telling young people you're not enough unless you have this product. The reality is you are enough. You guys don't need any of this shit. Like you're perfectly amazing as it is. But that's what my business is architected upon. And I live with that. Like I think about that constantly, right? Which is why I'm like trying to highlight the cultural pieces, storytelling pieces, young artists, trying to get them paid. Here, check, like I'm doing it almost every day on my Instagram. Like, look at these guys, support them, but I also, at the end of the day, like making money. I also need to live. I have a career. I want to support my 2 kids.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is what I do, right? Like this is my life.
Yeah, and if we can, I'm happy to move on, but I just do want to read briefly because Shoe Palace. So Jayren was an employee at Shoe Palace where he was killed outside the store over this raffle. They did have a brief post on Instagram memorializing him, and I think it's important just to give him that space, you know, in our program. Just you know, kind of. So I just wanted to read what they posted about him very briefly, just to keep him, you know, in mind in all this. They said, "Our Shoe Palace family is heartbroken over the senseless act of violence that took the life of Jayren Bradford. A loving son, brother, friend, and team member, Jayren was a light in any room he walked into. We ask at this time to respect his family and friends as they navigate through this traumatic event. As an organization, our focus remains on Jayren's family." That's from Shoe Palace, and I think we all echo that sentiment. Absolutely. Of, you know, condolences to his family and just shocked that it happened.
Definitely. Like you said, a very tough situation to process, and one that's close to us. We play in this space.
You record on those.
Yeah, we play in this space.
Those stores. Yeah,
we play in this space, and you definitely, you don't have like the right answer. There's no right answer, and you try to kind of just process it. There's no processing it, and it's just when like you talked about in the 90s, that Sports Illustrated cover, and for this to happen in 2021, again, no one really has the right answers. It's just such a tragic situation that hits, you know, close to home in our space, and just kind of like tough to process and speechless about it. So
I feel like for a while there, we weren't seeing this as much, and there was not as much violence around sneakers. And I think maybe some of that is because everybody's been inside for the past year. But even in the past couple years, I didn't see as many headlines about things like this happening around sneakers as I did in the early part of the 2010s. And I don't know how much people need to reassess
well, it went from
releases and stuff.
All of the, you know, the physical in-store releases, with the whole Jordan 11 foamposite era of, you seeing people like swing signs at people in the middle of like a finish line in, Indianapolis. But I mean, we've all seen those scenes to people getting shot over, Jordan 11s. And that whole era was crazy. And then the whole raffle system came in, and it felt like it kind of deterred that for a while, and then someone's actually shot over a raffle. So it's like...
Still some lingering questions. Bobby, I wanted to ask you about another kind of topical recent event, and I don't know how involved in this you are or if you have any thoughts, but Mike Cherman and Chinatown Market finally announced this week that they had changed their name to Market. They got rid of the Chinatown part. That was a big issue for a lot of people, earlier this year. Are you close with Mike, or did you have any insight into that process, or how did you feel, you being an Asian American owner of a streetwear brand, somebody who's affected by this? Like, what was your view on that whole thing?
Oh, wow. Yeah. That was also very complicated and layered. I'm really happy to see that Sherman decided to make a choice with the brand, right? Like, he didn't have to rebrand or rename. He took it on his own volition to do it, and in a way where I feel like he made it a very positive thing. And the reality is, with that brand, I don't even know if I should be saying this, is that that brand is doing better than ever and more popular than ever. Oh, wow. And so, he didn't have to just do this. He could have continued down his path. He did it because he was just like, no, you know what? This is really the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. You can say that it perhaps took him a little too long to figure that out. But I also know his intentions. And look, this is a very subjective opinion on Mike Cherman because I know him. I've spent a lot of time with him. I wouldn't say he's a hateful, hurtful person by any means. Yeah. His intentions going into the brand and naming it the name that he gave it came from an entirely different mindset. At the time, yeah, sure, Asian Americans and especially people who grew up in Chinatowns were sensitive to it. But that was also a time where we weren't looking at issues, especially Asian American issues, in the way that we are doing now. And thank God we are, right? Like, there was a subset of activists, a subset of politically aware people in the Asian American community who were calling things out, calling out Chinatown Market's name from the very beginning. I unfortunately wasn't one of those people, right? But in the context of 2021, when finally the spotlight has swung open to the Asian American community, we're talking about Stop Asian Hate. We're finally looking at a lot of the issues that have plagued our community because we're small, like we're just like a smaller percentage of Americans. And so the media has just not really in the past figured that it would be as something that should be emphasized. We're finally getting to that place. So to me, it's all positive steps. I think what happened with Chinatown Market and with Mike Cherman, what they went through, I think in the end is has been a real positive for our community because people are talking about this. Hopefully from here on out, people will be a little bit more mindful about the names that they choose. But I'm just here to say at the end of it all, like, I'm super proud of Mike and how they've pivoted. Mm-hmm. I'm proud of the brand and making this decision, committing to it and going forward with it. And, I want to continue to see them excel. And I want to see Asian American owners and Asian American brands excel. I want to see the Chinatown communities excel. I'm here to see everybody win. So that's really my position on it.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to see because when you hear that a brand's going to change your name or change their name, you're like, how's that going to go? Like, how are you as a company going to change the name of your company and then have people still even recognize it? And then when I saw they changed it to Market, I was like, oh, that's probably like the best case scenario because if they just completely like made it something different, like there would have been like no connection. Because it just reminds me of, and I'm sure you remember this remember when Fresh Jive and Rick Klotz decided to just take the name off of their brand and then like put it out into the public, and then like nobody bought the clothing company anymore because they were like, wait, what is this? So it could have gone like multiple ways,
Yeah. And if there was any critique I would give with the renaming, and I totally empathize with why he didn't do this, I wanted to see a rebrand, not just a renaming. Of course, what you were saying, though, is it would have been incredibly disruptive to the business and
White Guy Market.
The pipeline. What's that?
White Guy Market.
White Guy Market. I just wanted to see. I was like, dude, this is an opportunity where the whole world is watching you. Why don't you guys like introduce a restaurant or have a mascot for the first time, or say, hey, we're doing women's or like creating stores. There was like this space, but there's only so much he could do. I mean, he was busy renaming, but it's just like they continue to go with what they had. And I was like, no, that's great. And it makes the most sense business wise. But the artist in me, I was just like, do something really wacky now and launch like a crystals company or like make furniture now called, turn it into, crystals and maybe company. That's coming.
Welty would.
You into crystals?
No, not at all.
You and Spencer Pratt.
Crystals is part of that whole streetwear look where like you buy cacti and you have a couple of crystals on your desk.
Advisory board crystals, formerly Band of Outsiders.
Before you go, I need, one thing that I love about you and that you're on the podcast is like we're learning so much, but I feel like you help understand, even like when we have breakfast or whatever. Obviously, we haven't seen each other a while, but you always have like a lot of answers of things that I'm trying to, struggle through why this is happening. Maybe not struggle is the wrong word. I have to ask you, as someone who is doing baseball cards, you've been like producing them. Why can I spend, someone who could barely sit still in a movie, okay? Why could I spend hours watching live breaks on Instagram and I feel it's like therapeutic? Do you, I need to know.
Psychology behind it.
Hours, Bobby. Do you have that answer?
You've had a lot of time. You should be spending all that time interacting with the sneakers app to get your engagement up. So the algorithm is going to reward you with a pair of off-white dunks,
I do not.
Travis Scott Jordans.
No, I don't know the prices. I don't know what's valuable. I don't even know. I just learned what a slab is, right? However, I could sit and watch hours of live breaks, and it's like feel-good content. Do you have the psyche of why?
Jaspys?
Huh?
Do you follow Jaspys?
No.
What is it, Zaxby's you said?
Jaspys, Jaspys. They're a card shop out here, but they're pretty much the kings of live breaks. They do it 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I've been watching Wow Sports Cards in New Jersey, and
they're great too.
Bobby, what is it? Do you have that answer?
It's the same. I do.
Okay.
It's the same mechanism that's happening within. I used to think the same thing when I would watch my kids watching unboxing videos. Right.
Okay.
Those are big on YouTube for especially kids YouTube. Yeah. And sometimes they're watching unboxing videos of toys that they have physically sitting next to them. Speaking of metaverse, right? Jesus. And I'm like, you have it right there. And you unbox it, but they want to watch someone else do it because number one, it's an emotional thing. But there's also the same mechanism is being triggered that fuels into gambling when you're watching live breaks. And it's the same reason when the same tool implementation of the endless scroll with Instagram where you hit the jackpot button and you want to see what comes up next.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with live breaks. It's gambling, right? All cards to me is cards more than anything.
You have an addictive personality.
Yeah, but if I'm just observing, if I'm observing and getting excited about other people winning and not gambling, that's even better.
Oh, 100%. But you are also
well. I bought my first. I won my first box. I won my first box.
How do you win it?
It's called a Raz, I think, and it's called a Raz, and you like sign up for a spot, 10 spots, and if your name gets picked, you get the whole box.
Is this like the sneaker raffle stuff I was doing on IG, where they do an IG how I won
kind of like that. They shake up a box though, and they pick, and it said JLP, and I got an Anthony Davis autograph card, right? So, and I'm like, okay, this is like gambling, but I also that was my first time, and I've been watching. Bobby, to the point where these people must think I have no life, hours, and I'm commenting. I don't know
the metaverse, baby.
I don't know these people.
You're
and
in the metaverse.
I'm rooting for them, and I know, like I said, I know that you've been dealing with the cards, and I'm like, is it healthy that I am? I could do literally 9:30
That's a good question. Yeah,
I could do 9:30 to 11:15, and it could be like 10 minutes.
Post PM, right?
PM.
Okay, just so we're clear.
I'm totally intrigued by what's happening within the culture in general. It's like we're all becoming degenerates, gambling degenerates, because our generation is doing that with the live breaks. My kids do it. Why take them to the store to get Pokemon cards? They're doing the same thing, right? They're watching Logan Paul talk about Pokemon cards. The way that they rip packs.
You let your kids watch Logan Paul?
They watch Logan Paul. The other day, I came home and my 12-year-old son who just turned 12 was like, Daddy. I was like, yeah. He's like, Logan Paul got into an argument with Candace Owens today. And I was just like, do tell. Let's talk about that.
Let's unpack that.
Let's unpack that. But we go to the card store, and the way that they rip Pokemon packs is not unlike the feeling that you get, right? The way that they flip them down, and they count a certain amount of cards.
Bobby, I used to work in a card store during college, so trust me, I was selling the packs.
The only packs Brendan ever sold.
I think there's like a really cutesy, entertaining part of.
You were trying to.
Sorry. Let him. I need this. Let him. Yeah.
I think there's like a cutesy, gamified, fun way of looking all of this. Is that we're all gambling and we're all having fun. NFTs, crypto, like stocks in general are gambling and educated gambling, but it's really gambling in a lot of ways. Just the system itself is gambling. But I think there's also maybe something larger going on where, in a way, I think as a society, we're becoming a little bit unhinged in the fact that we're realizing that so much of this is random, right?
Now, I want to say there is a Magic set called Unhinged, just so we're...
Okay. He's a Magic card connoisseur.
Oh, my God.
Magic is also back in a big way, right?
We never left, baby.
You have to come... No, you have to get back in the game. You have to get back in the game.
They might have to pull me back in.
Yeah.
Wizards of the Coast, let's set up a meeting.
Bobby,
yeah. Go ahead.
Do you encourage me watching the live breaks?
I think if it does something for you, I think people are really, immersed in this idea of just randomness. Like life seems very random and unpredictable right now, where there used to be some sense of order, right? Like there used to be some sense of order. You go to the store, you buy the sneakers, you come home, you wear the sneakers, that's it. And now everything is up to chance. And maybe that's because of how social media works, because everyone knows what an algorithm now is. But, over 10 years ago, if you were talking about, oh, no, I posted, people will see it. That's how blogs worked. Now it's just like, well, it's kind of up to chance, and we don't really understand the algorithm. It's kind of up to chance if you get the sneakers. It's kind of up to chance if you get the COVID virus, whether there is going to be a pandemic. There's so much left up to chance now. And I just think people are feeling a little bit insecure, right? Everything's a little bit unpredictable these days, and we're feeding into that. So there's a dark way to look at it. But there's also just a fun look. It's also just fun to do. And I do it too, right? I go to the card shops every weekend.
All right. I feel okay about it.
No, it's totally.
I feel okay. I've never gambled ever.
Never.
When I go to Atlantic City to see, a comedy show, Sebastian Maniscalco or something, I never hit the tables.
You never hit the penny slots?
Never gamble.
I'm not a gambler either. But the way that I buy art and NFTs, it's fully gambling.
At least we're being honest.
He has this guy has a lot of the answers. That's why he has the answers. Sway. He has the answers. Bobby, I think what do you always have stuff going on? What can we expect upcoming in the near future? What are you guys working on that you're excited about before we go?
Yeah, we have a Batman Dark Knight collaboration dropping tomorrow, but the big one is, and Welty's gonna love this, we have an NFT collectible set that launches in a week or so, maybe by the time, I don't know, when is this episode?
Friday morning.
Bobby, I've been a big fan of you guys posting all of the different Atom Bomb logos. I don't know if those are NFTs or not, but
they are. You can buy one.
Yeah, Bobby, if you can give me the backdoor link to the watermelon one, I will totally buy it.
I wish I could. It's random because it's gambling. I don't even know what I'm going to get, right? We're unpacking or unboxing or ripping these packs as well. But this is a project called Atom Bomb Squad that we've been working on since February. And I'm really happy to finally get out. It's going to be upwards of 20 to maybe even 25,000 different NFTs of atom bombs that we've made over the last 18 years. And so it's really, it's different from a lot of the other NFT collectible sets where most of these guys have, and I say guys because it's a lot of men in this space, but most of these people have made their artwork in the last year, 6 months. We're recalling on almost 2 decades of atom bombs, right? Hundreds and hundreds of iterations that we fleshed across different patterns and backgrounds. And so, yeah, just tons of bombs. But it's our way of kind of bridging the gap between streetwear and NFTs. I think there's like a sizable gap there between just regular people who are kind of just like curious maybe a little bit, but also like, yo, but I really love this one atom bomb. I have fond memories of this one that I wore in 8th grade or 9th grade. I'm like, well, you can actually own that one and say it's yours, and in the future be able to make money off of it for yourself. And so that's what we're trying to do: change how people think of fashion, and also change how people think of the fashion business. I hope I can accomplish that with NFTs, and especially starting with this project next week.
Awesome. Bobby, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on and always chopping it up. Can't thank you enough. I feel like we got questions, you got answers.
I don't have any of the answers. I think this is, in this time more than any, I've realized it's pretty stupid to think you know anything at all, right? That anything that you think is true. But I'm always in the pursuit of answers.
Love that.
Like straight up. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hope to see you soon. And yeah, we'll
Appreciate it, Bobby.
Yes, Bobby.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Bobby.
guys.
We'll talk soon.
Love you guys.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
This was the Complex Sneakers Podcast. We are back after a short hiatus. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Please like, subscribe. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
Be here.